On SportsCenter, taking a look back at the first half of the NBA season with the All-Star game taking place tonight. Pistons and Thunder sitting atop their respective conferences, with Detroit edging out OKC for the best record in the NBA by virtue of fewest losses. It's the first time since the 05-06 season that the Pistons have the best record entering the break.
Tyler, how about this one? Luka Doncic. He leads the NBA in scoring thus far, making a real case for the MVP of the league this season. He currently sits with the fourth best odds to win the award.
One of the guys in front of them in the odds market for MVP is Nikola Jokic, doing what he does best, triple doubles. Joker leads the NBA this season with 20, 10 more than the next closest player. It would be his second consecutive season leading the association in trip dubs. NBA Today crew, take it away.
Hey, welcome inside our Los Angeles studio. Kendrick Perkins, Danny Green, the Hall of Famer, Mr. Spheres. I'm Malika Andrews. Here's what we know. We got a real sample size now. Everyone, 10 games, that's not enough. 20. After the All-Star break, there's some patterns that we are starting to see, Kendrick Perkins. What's one thing that's going to carry over from what we've seen so far to the second half of the season?
That one major conference, the Western Conference. I want to see, because it's a lot of unknowns. I believe it's wide open, right? The Denver Nuggets, they're not healthy. Jokic don't look 100%. Obviously, we're looking at OKC. They're not healthy. The Spurs, only 3 games back from being the number 1 spot. Can Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves really get back in the thick of things and be legit title contenders?
I hope so.
Will he capitalize on the moment? What's going to happen with Lakers and Luka? Like, are they going to be ready? So I'm looking at this Western Conference. It's wide open, but I'm looking for the Spurs to go capture that number 1 spot.
Okay. I'm worried about your champs, your Oklahoma City Thunder, Perk.
How worried?
Very. I mean, there's a reason why teams haven't, it's been since 2019, since there's been a repeat champion. There's always injury issues, fatigue. There probably is not a team that needs an all-star break more than the Thunder. SGA's hurt. Jalen's been hurt. There's other injuries to the team. They're adding players because of the injuries. Maybe it might be catching up to them, and maybe we'll have a new champion.
I did think it was interesting that Tim McMahon said on NBA Today recently that the Oklahoma City Thunder, Jalen rushing back, J-Dub rushing back, was maybe a little bit of evidence that they're feeling the tight Western Conference standings here, DJ.
Yeah, for sure. But for me, I'm looking East.
Okay.
I think it's kind of open. It's wide open.
He won championships in both conferences.
Yeah, so the West is going to be good. But I think I'm looking at the dark horse teams like the Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they can make a push this second half or the last fourth of the season and make some noise. Joel Embiid's been on a tear. Tyrese Maxey, they're a team that nobody wants to match up with in the first round, and I think they could probably upset some teams in the first round.
Who don't want to match up with? The 76ers?
Yeah, they could get Boston. They could get Detroit. Like, they have a good, even the Knicks, they don't want to see them in the first round.
No, they got to get to the first round.
For sure.
Meaning that they got to be healthy. That's the biggest thing, right? So, again, but I'm looking forward to it.
Everything I'm hearing from Joel Embiid is that this is something, after the All-Star break, we're going to see him back in the form that we did going in, which was incredibly top form, and that's going to make for an awesome second half. Really, it's the last quarter of the NBA season here.
Well, maybe eventually the 76ers can find themselves on this graphic, but as of now, the Thunder and Nuggets both have the best odds to win the NBA championship, with OKC slightly edging out Denver at plus 130. They are followed by 2 Eastern Conference teams, the Cavs and the Knicks, at plus 1,200 and plus 1,300, respectively.
Here on SportsCenter, NBA GMs that went big game hunting at the deadline were unable to bag and tag the biggest trophy on the market. Giannis is still a Milwaukee Buck for now. In a sit-down with Malika Andrews at the All-Star break, the 2-time league MVP shared that the reason he's now open to change is because he's starving for more.
As of today, I'm committed to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm committed to the people that I work with, my teammates, the coaching staff, Coach Duck, and John in the front office. What I've said from the beginning of this year is that out of my mouth and the way I've carried myself, you will never hear me say I don't want to be a Milwaukee Buck.
We've had a lot of interviews over the years.
Yes.
One of them was in 2021. It was right after you won a championship.
Oh, good moments.
And
Take me back. Take me back,
well,
baby.
you said to me, we might never win another one. It's fine. I'd rather do it this way, win one this way, than go anywhere else and win 2 or 3. How do you reflect on that now?
I want to win another one. I want to win another one. Was I drunk? Was it after the champagne?
It was after you had a cramp and had to go get fluids, and there was a lot going on that night. Something else you said, though, you said, But the problem is I'm already starting to think about the other ones, and that's what's wrong with my brain. You said that's what's messed up is we just did it, and I'm obsessing over how we can do it again.
Yeah, it's fact. You know, I think I don't drink or smoke, but somebody gave me a cigar. And at that time, I didn't know what I was saying.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But when you've had a bite of a really good steak, you know, and all of a sudden you go somewhere else, so time goes by and you're just having the big steaks in front of you, and it's just like not good, and you know how that steak feel. You want that steak again, you know. And
Hollandaise, little Bernaise sauce.
yeah, I don't know if that's a good analogy for
It's
people
good.
that's watching, but I want that steak again, and I know what I'm missing out on. And players that have played in the NBA for a lot of years that I've never won, they don't know what they're really missing out on. I know that feeling.
Giannis, hungry for more. We always love having David Dennis Jr. on the SportsCenter menu this morning. David, what's your reaction to what you just heard from Giannis there?
Look, it's Valentine's Day weekend. Valentine's Day, people feel feel good about their relationship. They feel validated. They get the flowers, get all things. But on the other hand, people get those sort of quizzical text messages from people. They're like, I don't really understand where we are. Cut that person off. Giannis is sending those quizzical text messages because in 1 minute I want to be with Milwaukee. Another minute I want to go win a championship. You're not going to win a championship with Milwaukee. It's just not going to happen, which is why this split made the most sense during last offseason, and it did not happen at the trade deadline. And now we have to deal with more weeks and more months of Giannis kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth. I want to stay with Milwaukee, but I want to win another championship. Those things are antithetical to each other, which is why it has always made the most sense for him and the Bucks to part ways. And it is honestly my hope that come offseason, they finally do that, so both of them can move on and get closer to championships on either one of their sides.
Yeah, if he wants another bite of that meat, it looks like it's not going to happen in Milwaukee. He may have to go elsewhere this offseason. All right, David, as we look ahead to the second half of the NBA season coming out of the break, what are 3 storylines that intrigue you the most?
Okay, so let's start with the Eastern Conference right now. And I'm looking at the East to see who's actually going to break away from the pack and really emerge as favorites. Like, I know Detroit has a huge lead on everybody else. There's still questions about them, their three-point shooting, their youth, things like that. I don't consider them, huge favorites. The Knicks, will that defense keep up? They've had a great last 10 games. They've been a little bit uneven. Cavs, what are they going to do? So I'm looking to see who's really going to break away in the East. Now, moving on to the West, the OKC Thunder. You got to remember, they started 24-1. We were talking about them winning 75 games, but they've spent a lot of the last few weeks in street clothes. SGA is hurt. J-Dub and these injuries are really concerning. We're worried about that wrist. He's hurt that hamstring. I want to see a fully healthy OKC Thunder team making a run to get a back-to-back championships. And finally, it's Victor Wembanyama and that San Antonio Spurs team, the OKC Thunder kryptonite, it seems like. How good can this team really be? How good can Victor Wembanyama really be? He has seemed to have no ceiling to what he can do and who he could possibly be. I want to see him continue to emerge as maybe the most dominant force in the NBA. Remember last time we saw him, the dude looked like he was going to score 100 points against the Lakers. I cannot wait to see what he's going to do for the second half of this season.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll talk about his MVP chances a little bit later in the show. His MVP chances in the All-Star game tonight. He's the betting favorite at DraftKings, so the market's expecting big things from him. By the way, Spurs only 3 games behind the Thunder in the Western Conference, and they've beaten OKC in 4 of the 5 meetings between the two this year. They seem to have the defending champs number. We love when David Dennis Jr. dials us up on SportsCenter.